I'm back with another album review. Today's review is on the soundtrack for Alone in the Dark. This is a soundtrack to the Uwe Boll film, which is based on the video game series of the same name. On a side note, I have not seen the movie nor played any of the games, but I just had to get the soundtrack. The soundtrack was compiled by Gerardo Martinez and Phil Hinkle. Gerardo was also responsible for the music coordination. The soundtrack was mastered by Steve Aschenbrenner at Lone Wolf Studios. The artwork was made by Lionsgate Films since they distributed the film in America. The layout was made by Anthony Clarkson. The soundtrack was released on January 25th, 2005 on Nuclear Blast in collaboration with Century Media Records. This means that the soundtrack came out 3 days before the movie. The soundtrack will also be turning 20 years old this month as of the making of this video. Apparently the soundtrack was dedicated to the late Dimebag Darrell, and they said that metal isn't the same without him. The soundtrack is also 2.5 hours long and has all the music on 2 discs. Now let's talk about the songs, starting with the ones on disc 1. The beginning of the soundtrack is Res Desperd by Dimmu Borgir. These guys are a symphonic black metal band from the great nation of Norway. The next track is What Drives the Weak by Shadows Fall. This is definitely one of the best songs on the whole soundtrack. After that is Cyber Waste by Fear Factory. Out of all the bands featured on the soundtrack, Fear Factory is the one that I'm most familiar with. Next up is Touch of Red by In Flames. In Flames are from Sweden. We all know that Sweden loves metal. Up next is Devour by Strapping Young Lad. These guys are from Canada, in case you're wondering. The following track is Peace by Agnostic Front. They actually featured Jimmy Jasta on this track. We followed up with Gone Forever by God Forbid. Right here we have a metalcore band from the great state of New Jersey. That's followed up by Down Again by Chimera. These guys are from Ohio, in case you didn't know. The track after that is Lost to Apathy by Dark Tranquillity. We got another band from Sweden over here. The track that comes next is Blacklist by Exodus. This band has been around since '79, and they're still together as of the making of this video. The track that comes after that is Imperium by Machine Head. Their frontman, Rob Flynn, wants to form with Suicide Silence. The track that follows is Stabbing the Drama by Soilwork. This is the third Swedish band to be featured on this soundtrack. What comes next is Daylight Dancer by Lacuna Coil. We actually have an Italian band this time. What comes after that is Panasonic Youth by the Dillinger Escape Plan. Never forget that Greg Puciato did something really shitty at the 2002 Reading Festival. And I do mean shitty in the most literal sense. What's next is Rational Gaze by Meshuggah. These guys are really popular from what I've seen. They're the fourth Swedish band that I've mentioned so far. The second to last track on disc 1 is Wish I Had an Angel by Nightwish. And Nightwish are from the great nation of Finland. We all know that Finland loves metal. The song actually received a music video that was directed by the film's director, Uwe Boll. There's a link in the description, and it features scenes from the movie. The ending of disc 1 is Mother of Abominations by Cradle of Filth. Now we have a band from England, and these guys are pretty cool. That's it for disc 1. Now for disc 2. The beginning of disc 2 is Dead Eyes See No Future by Arch Enemy. This is the fifth Swedish band I've mentioned. What's after that is The Devil Incarnate by Death Angel. These guys are from San Francisco. Next track is Medieval by Diecast. Right here we have a metalcore band from the great city of Boston. After that is Daughter of the Damned by Fireball Ministry. This is a stoner metal band from Los Angeles, in case you didn't know. Next up is The Weapon They Fear by Heaven Shall Burn. Now we have a band from the great nation of Germany, which makes sense because Uwe Boll is also German. Up next is Eraser by Hypocrisy. This is the sixth Swedish band I've mentioned so far. We followed up with Blood and Thunder by Mastodon. I first heard the song in the original Need for Speed Most Wanted, and that game will also be turning 20 years old this year. That's followed up by The Great Depression by Misery Index. This time we have a band from Baltimore. The track after that is Ghost by Nemec. This time we have a band from Denmark. The following track is Slaughtervein by Du Scented. We have another German band this time. The track that follows is Souls to Deny by Suffocation. We have a band from Centereach, New York. The track that comes next is Watch Out by Raunchy. We have another Danish band this time. The track that comes after that is As I Slither by Cataclysm. Here we have a band from Montreal. What's next is Outnumbering the Day by Bloodbath. It's the seventh Swedish band on the soundtrack. What's after that is Deconstruction by All Shall Perish. These guys actually got back together last year, but there's no word on whether or not they'll make any new music. What comes next is Minion by Bleed the Sky. These guys are from Orange County, California. What comes after that is On Earth by Samael. This time we have a band from Switzerland. The second to last track is One Shot, One Kill by Dying Fetus. One of their songs actually featured on South Park a few years ago. The ending of the soundtrack is 99 by The Haunted. This is the eighth and final Swedish band to be featured on the soundtrack. I couldn't find any information on how the soundtrack performed commercially. However, it was received very well, unlike the movie. Now for my thoughts. I think this is one of the best soundtracks ever made, which is ironic because the movie has a 2.4 out of 10 on IMDb. If there's one good thing that came from the movie, it's the soundtrack, which is filled to the brim with metal. It's funny that the soundtrack is longer than the actual movie. I think more soundtracks should feature metal and rock songs in various bands like this. If I ever made a list of the best movie soundtracks, you know damn well I'd put this on the list. It's interesting how nearly 1/3 of all the bands featured on the soundtrack are from Sweden. Overall, I highly recommend this soundtrack. Now is the part where I question you. Have you listened to the Alone in the Dark soundtrack? If so, what do you think about it? What's your favorite song from it? What other bands do you think should have been featured on it? And let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell to notify you of future videos. Thanks for watching. The next review is episode 400. I have something special planned for that.